We're going to do a few rapid fire here. Welcome back. Ryan Brock again, your host for the day. And I am really excited to be joined by Chirag Nijjar. He is here. He's a personal brand expert. He's on TV. He's here to talk about influencer marketing at DigiMarCon. He's got his hands in like a million different places. And so I'm really excited for this conversation. This is a cool guy. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, that means the world coming from you.
Yeah,
right
well,
after hearing your sort of entrepreneurial journey here, right?
Yeah. We're all here. We're all kicking. So before we get into anything else, tell me about what you're doing here at the conference. What's your role?
So I'm coming on as one of the moderators. There's a panel at around 4 p.m. about influencer marketing. We're going to talk a little bit about the trends that we're seeing, and I'm actually joined by one of the CMOs of Dash Hudson. Right, this is a platform that helps marketers sort of deal with their social media management, as well as the head of audience development over at Fanatics.
Yeah.
So they're going to both talk a little bit about, they're on both ends, right? Fanatics uses a lot of these creators and influencers to help sell products. Meanwhile, Dash Hudson is usually helping brands connect with the right influencers. Right. So we're going to hear both sides of one, how are they approaching some of these campaigns, but more importantly, how are they managing them, making sure that they're executing well, and finally, where do we think this is going long term? Was this just a fad and a trend, or do we think this is actually going to move on to something different?
Interesting. If you had to give me, as a moderator, I've been in your role before. Being a moderator is tough because sometimes you want to be kind of just sort of apolitical in that conversation, right?
But you have your own thoughts.
You have your own thoughts. So when it comes to the latest trends, if any of our listeners are in a world where that's something that could be, what should they be thinking?
So one of the big things I often say in my own sort of talks and all, just sort of brand talks that I tend to give, is that authority, there's three ways to get authority, right? And at the end of the day, in marketing, branding, economics and all, the biggest thing we're really solving for is trust and credibility, right? And so if there's three ways to do it, one, you're either borrowing it, stealing it, or you're making it.
Yeah.
Right? So if you're making it, you're something like, hey, we sell these pans, our consumers like these pans, look at all these good reviews we have, blah, blah, blah. So you physically are actually generating some of that.
I hate pants, by the way. Pants are awful, but continue.
No, but the other, are you saying pants or pans? Because I'm saying cooking pans.
Oh, pans are fine.
I was like, that's a strong stance to have on pans.
I'd just rather be wearing shorts. That's all I'm saying.
Fair. But the other one, is you borrow authority. Right? So you can say something like Martha Stewart loves her pants, right? You're borrowing her authority.
Or have you met my friend Martha Stewart? Yeah.
And then the other way is you're stealing authority, right? So you're saying, hey, our pants are better than XYZ competitors, right? And oftentimes the hardest one to do is to build credibility yourself.
Yeah.
And often one of the best things to do is to borrow, right? And so when it comes to these creators, I think the way influencer marketing used to work in the beginning was that we used to be really in tune to celebrities. If a celebrity endorsed something, I want to be like that celebrity, ergo I'm going to go get it. Say Gordon Ramsay, blah, blah, blah. I think we've seen this shift to people going, okay, well, a celebrity I may want to be like them, but they're not me. Right? So what they endorse may not be good for me. We've attached ourselves to influencers.
Yeah, it's no different than the evolution of any aspect of digital marketing, where we've gone from mass blast broadcasting to let's make this as personal and individualized as possible.
Exactly.
It doesn't matter if an influencer has a following of 500 people if it's 500 people that somebody wants to be in front of.
You're hitting it right on the dot.
Yeah.
If I were a betting man here, I'd say we're going to go more and more micro. Right, we're slowly going back to this idea that we trust what the person in front of us is saying. Right? You tell me there's some tool that you're using, I'm more like, okay, cool, I know there's a real person doing that. Ergo, same way, I think micro influencers are where it's going to be. But what we're seeing larger influencers do, which I think is really interesting. You see Marquise Brown is his name?
Marquez Brown.
Marquez Brownlee. Sorry.
Yeah, MKBH, right? Or BL. His tech reviews.
Exactly.
Love those.
You'll notice him and Mr. Beast have been trying to strategy where they'll create micro channels.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's how bigger influencers can also follow this trend. Is we're going to see people going to a creator for a very specific niche.
This is my Apple tech review channel. This is my Tesla channel.
Exactly.
Yeah, right.
So I think we're going to just go further into the niches and sort of this micro influence.
Let's flip to the other side of the table for a moment, because I think what you're most passionate about from the 5 seconds I've known you is personal branding and things like that. So if you're on the influencer side, honestly, like I would identify myself more as that micro influencer than the one who wants to hire one.
Yeah.
But I also, I'm not a joiner, if that makes sense. Like I'm like, I don't want to sacrifice my personal brand to sell something. How do I stay ahead of that? How do I, as an individual who might have a platform, or those who are listening, I'm trying to be a stand-in for you. Do you understand how that works in an interview?
He's putting in the hours.
How do I open myself to those opportunities without sacrificing my genuine perspective?
Yeah, I hate that I'm forgetting this individual's name. There's a female creator on Instagram, right? Who does, damn it, I wish I could remember her name. But I think she's one of these great examples that does it really well, right? I think the big, what I'm coming to here is the big thing I tend to teach people, right, is that your brand is the words you want people to use.
Yeah.
Right? Quite frank and simple, right? You can add extra layers onto it, your logo, your colors, all that, but at the base level, it is when I'm not in the room, what are you saying?
Yeah,
And the
like that
idea is I
definition.
can either allow you to choose what you're saying about me, which means I'm relying on your spotty memory of me, the millions of other things that are competing, your own personal opinions, or I can give you those words.
Yeah.
And that's what I feel marketing is, right? So your brand is the words, your marketing is the way you get it out there. And I call this the brand resonance theory. And the idea is what resonates later on when you're gone, those keywords. Think of someone like a Heinz, right? Are you familiar with Heinz ketchup?
Yes,
Yeah.
I also don't like ketchup. So,
No.
and I'm not even trying to make this hard on you. But you keep
Well,
going.
horrible examples for you. But Heinz, I mean, their marketing team is just insane.
Yeah.
They're just batshit.
I mean,
Yeah.
total respect for it. I get it.
Yeah. But they're just wild. I mean, so their words are red, slow, and 57.
Yeah.
Very specific shade of red that they want you to care about because that means high quality ketchup.
And they want to know that you're tapping the bottle. Yeah, right.
There's a very specific speed it's supposed to come out at, slow, and then 57, that number that they throw around.
Yeah, Heinz 57.
Yeah. So these three words. Now their marketing strategies are finding unique ways to remind you about it. So like they partnered up with Waze in Canada, and if you were going slow in traffic and you know when it gets red on the navigation, and you're going at a certain speed that matched the bottle, you get a coupon. Red, slow, and whatever that coupon I think had 57 incorporated somewhere. They had a website that took 57 minutes to load. It was an all red screen. Slow, red, 57.
Yes.
You're sitting there going like, what? 57 minutes for what? But it's like their entire thing is all about. Let me remind you of these three words over and over. Same principle attaches to itself like personal brands as well.
Yeah, I mean, even asking the question, I was to give you that platform. I think about like some of my favorite like YouTube creators who will, I mean, they'll go all out. It's not just, and today's sponsor is NordVPN, and like they will go all out and produce like skits or write really complex things that. You know what? Because I like you as a person and I know it's benefiting you, creator, I'm going to watch this rather than just skipping it. And I think that's like a really cool, almost conversation happening between an audience and the influencer themselves.
But it's so tough for brands to step back and allow that to happen.
Yeah,
right.
Sure.
Oftentimes, I mean, I've been on both sides, on the influencer side and on the brand side. And both times you tend to see most of the times brands run into that same block of like, hey, we are tied down by the rules that are legal, our marketing teams, our CEOs, and everyone has set. And so we need you to do this within these exact guidelines. You look at the influencer, like you could have hired anyone that was good with the camera to do that instead.
Yeah, and they would have done. And if you actually stop giving them guidelines,
they would have done so much better. I mean, have you ever seen The Morning Brew?
Yeah.
Yeah. So The Morning Brew is such a great example. They're one of the pioneers of this idea of marketing, but to the point where like a lot of the feedback they tend to receive on their ads within the newsletter is that I didn't even realize this is an ad until I moved on to the next section and realized that I'd read it because the way they write their ads even are all made to sound with the same tone that Morning Brew is known for.
Yeah.
So this idea, if you're hiring us, you're not hiring us because we're a newsletter that has reach. You could probably reach those same consumers in a million other ways. You're doing it because they trust the voice that we've created. You're asking them more.
Yeah. All right, let's close with two questions that are sort of mirror images of each other. First, if I am a marketer who thinks I might need the help of an influencer to reach the market I want to reach, what is the best advice you can give me as far as a first step goes?
Yeah, I think identify the end audience that you're looking for, right, and figure out if your product can fit into that influencer's normal routine, right? And what I mean by this is, say if your end consumer is, we want to appeal to women in a certain demographic within XYZ area, right? You might go and find a female influencer, but then say you're like a coffee brand, you'd find someone who's already drinking coffee quite often in some of their content. I think one of the best examples is, Emma Chamberlain. Are Are you
Yeah,
familiar?
yeah.
So I think she had launched her own coffee brand. And I think one of the big differences between the creative brand she had created versus some of these other influencers is that everyone in her videos had already seen her drinking coffee so often.
Yeah, it was
just an obvious. And she built authority in
Yeah.
that sense. So find someone who could use your product in an everyday sense.
Or find someone who's completely shameless. Okay, second question. If I want to get in on that influencer action, what's my first step?
Oh, so easy. It's much easier this way, right? I think, again, pick 3 words that you really want to be known for, right? And over-index on creating as much. I often tell the creators when they're first starting off, it's not about quality, it's quantity for the sake of getting to quality. Right? That's the reason why platforms like Instagram and TikTok are able to do so well, is because people can put out a piece of content every single day and you learn something from that content.
Yes.
So I think find your 3 pillars, or what are those 3 words that you want to be known for, right? It's like, these are my, again, I wish I could remember that creator's name. It doesn't really well, but her thing was, I love tech, and I want to talk about your tech. So all she did was she would just get as much, whatever tech she had laying around her house. Like, this is the camera I used to use. This is what I do. This is why I use XYZ thing. And eventually brands like Microsoft and Apple started reaching out and saying, hey, can you talk about some of the new products that we're releasing?
Yeah.
So because she tied herself to one specific niche and just kept making content. So they knew that her audience was geared towards that one thing, which for a brand is a no-brainer.
Content pillars.
Yeah.
As the author of the book, Pillar-Based Marketing.
Oh, yeah. Wait,
I'm a big fan of that. I'm a big fan of that idea.
I forget who I'm sitting with.
I'm a big fan of that concept.
I want to grab one of your books. We'll talk right afterwards. Yeah.
I'll sell it to you for real cheap. And autograph it too. All right, this was awesome. Thanks for a great conversation.
No, thank you.
I think this is going to wrap it for the podcast today, but we'll be back tomorrow with, we've got our MC here is going to join us tomorrow morning. We've got a few more speakers that are lined up. So stick with us, follow us in your feed, wherever you're watching